Well, good evening there, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's still Saturday, July 1st, and as you can tell, I'm coming to you from the man cave. It's later on in the evening, and I ran through a few days there that I was having trouble focusing and trying to tell stories, and today I guess I was a little clearer, and so I've already shot a couple videos. I shot one this morning, and I shot one this afternoon, and they're up and posted, and I've got this other one been kicking around my head for a few days, so I thought maybe I'd try to shoot one more this evening. And that's going to be another Bigfoot video. Now, I shot a couple of them about my trips in 2021 and the big loop trip we did in August and September up through Idaho and Montana and Wyoming and Utah and Colorado. And I talked about some experiences that I had in Colorado and New Mexico, and also talked about meeting one named La Raza up in Montana. Well, the story I'm going to tell you now actually happened the following night after that. And so we left our friend's place up there and headed south. And as I told you in the other video, we'd kind of messed around a little bit too much in over in Idaho and in Montana. And so even though we were going to be out for 4 weeks, we were kind of running out of time, and we needed to get back to town for something. So we decided we were going to have to kind of push it a little harder, headed back home. So when we left our friend's place in Montana, we drove down to Billings, and Billings is a bustling place, and we didn't spend much time there, but I guess the most complicated thing we did there was found the Costco and managed to actually get our truck and trailer in there to get fuel, because man, you know how those Costco parking lots are. They're not real trailer friendly. I pity the poor guys in the semis that have to come and deliver there. But anyway, after we left Billings, we headed west for a little bit, and then we headed south down and crossed over into Wyoming. Our goal was to get to Cody. Now that wasn't really very far, so it was kind of a short travel day. And I don't think I'd ever been to Cody, or if I did, it was a little kid and I don't remember anything about it. But Cody's a bustling place. It's the eastern gateway to Yellowstone, and it's the shopping mecca for the whole northwestern part of Wyoming, and so I was pretty impressed with Cody overall. And we got down there early in the afternoon, and so we're looking for a place to stay, and there's an RV park in Cody, and it's called the Ponderosa Campground. And it's on the west side, kind of pretty much in downtown. And their claim to fame, they have a bunch of permanent people there, like all the RV parks seem like they do, but one of their claim to fame is they always try to keep some spaces open for travelers and for people like us. And I thought that was pretty cool. But the other claim to fame is that they don't take reservations. They're first come, first serve. So that means if you want to get in there, you better kind of get in there a little bit earlier in the day, because otherwise you're probably going to be full. And so we got in there early afternoon, and sure enough, they had a spot for us. And so we got ourselves set up in there. And then on the west side of town is where their Walmart Supercenter is. So we run over there to get some supplies. And anyway, looked around town just a little bit, and by the way, there's a Museum of the West there that's absolutely stunning. We didn't get a chance to go there. It was right near where we stayed, and so we saw it. But we had some friends that stayed for about a week in Cody, and my friend said he spent 2 full days going through that museum. He said it was absolutely amazing. So we want to go back there sometime to do that. But that's not what my story is today. Up at right next to the Walmart Supercenter, believe it or not, is the city cemetery. Now, you can figure out a lot about a town by looking at its cemetery. And some of them look like they're totally ignored and they're overgrown with weeds and look like nobody cares anymore. But the cemetery in Cody is totally different. It's manicured, the grass is green, it's mowed, the trees are beautiful. I mean, it looks really like somebody cares. Now, you'll find out a little bit why that's important on this story. But I noticed that, and anytime I go and spend any time in a town, and there's a couple things to go look for. Of course, fire station, got to go look for the fire station. We looked for the fire station in Cody and found it as well. But I always got to look at fire stations. And but I also like to, if I'm going to be around very long, I like to take a look and see what the cemetery looks like, because that tells me, whether people care or not. And a lot of the little towns back in the Midwest, especially, some of them, the cemeteries are just stunning. They're just beautiful, and you can tell that they really care a lot about the people that came before them, in order to put the time and effort into taking care of their cemetery. Well, that's the way the one is in Cody. I wasn't particularly looking for that, but it's right next to the Walmart. And so it's kind of the, Walmarts all kind of look the same. And, it's kind of the symbol of, we don't care about nothing but the almighty dollar, and totally separate from just the total opposite end of the spectrum from the cemetery. So anyway, we went back and went back to the trailer, and once more, in the evening, it was pretty nice, and so I took my chair out, and I was going to sit outside. And where we were at, we could kind of watch the traffic go by, and the place was filling up. There was only a couple of empty spots left, and fortunately, we were kind of on the end of the row where we had a pretty good view of traffic, and I always like to watch traffic anyway. So I'm sitting there, and it's just right about dark, and all of a sudden, I get the tingle. And I've talked about the tingle before, but it's kind of the "hi, we're here" tingle, and it shocked me because, the RV park's right in town. And I've had them, I've run into them in town before, but, it's the first time I've been to Cody for that. But anyway, I got the "hi, we're here" tingle, and I responded back to it. And I said, I feel that. And, who is this? And I hear very, very clear mind speak. I hear, "Ice thinner, ice thinner, ice thinner, ice thinner." And I'm trying to figure out what in the world he's talking about. And so I asked him back. I said, "I don't understand. What's that mean?" And he comes back and says, "Ice thinner." And I said, "Well, I hear you, but I don't know what you mean." And then he comes back. He says, "I is thinner." And so I said, "Whoa, does that mean that thinner is your name?" "I's thinner." Well, okay. And so I asked him, "Are you an adult?" Because he sounded like a juvenile. I said, "Are you an adult?" And he said he was, but if he was an adult, he'd probably be a pretty young one. So anyway, I asked him, I said, "Oh, your name is Thinner. I understand now." And the RV park backed right up to the river. There's a little river down there. I want to call it the Shoshone River, but I'm not 100% certain that's right. I don't remember. But anyway, so I asked him, I said, do you live here, right here in town, down by the river? And he came back and he says, "At the cemetery." And I said, "You live at the cemetery? Why is that?" He said, "It's really nice there and nobody goes there at night." Well, that made a lot of sense. And if indeed they're able to go inside trees like we think they can to rest up, and what would be a better spot to hang out? The trees in the cemetery were beautiful. Big, old, I don't know how old they were, 150 years. Cody's an old town. But anyway, so Thinner hung around there for probably 10 or 15 minutes, and I didn't get his age. Like I say, I think he was a young adult, but I never anticipated that I would run into somebody right in town like that. I'd love to go back there. I'd love to see. I don't know if he lives there all the time or if he just happened to be there temporarily or what his thing was, but I ran into one named Thinner right downtown in Cody, Wyoming. We only stayed overnight. We left the next day and headed down south. And so that's my story about meeting Thinner, but I'll always remember that. He didn't say "I am thinner." That might mean, to think that he used to be fatter or something. I don't know. But what he was saying, and he was saying it really fast. He was saying, "I is thinner." So what I was hearing was, "I's thinner, I's thinner." And once again, was that his formal name? I don't know. Probably not. It's probably a nickname of some kind. Because some of their names are the names that we've gotten are some of them are fairly lengthy and complicated. And so for some reason or other, I have no idea. I never saw him. I've got very, very clear mind speak from him. Never saw any distortion or anything. And it was still, when I was talking to him, it was right at sundown. And so he'd apparently, he'd come out and he's wandering around, see if there's anybody there that knew he was there. And he, once again, he was very surprised that somebody knew he was there. So anyway, that was my conversation with Thinner. And So I had contact. I told you about up in Idaho. I had contact over in Montana and had contact down in Wyoming, in Cody, Wyoming, right in the middle of town. So Cody seems like a pretty nice place. I'd like to go back there and spend some time there, and maybe I'll get a chance to. And so the next day we headed down south, drove all the way across the state of Wyoming, and that's a story for another time. Where we stayed that night, we stayed outside of Rock Springs, and not too far off the freeway, and no activity there. And then we went down into Utah on the way home. But anyway, that's my story for right now. As I always tell you, take care of each other, love each other. The Sasquatch subject is an absolutely fascinating thing, and I'm getting better. I'm going to be out in the hills here before too long, I hope, and get a little bit better every day. So with that, I'll let you go and tell you I'll catch you on the next one. So for right now, I'll just tell you peace out.